Welcome back to BaldHeaded Metal, guys, and welcome back to another review, and this time around for the band KONVENT with their new album called Down the Sun, which is a follow-up to their first album, Puritan Masochism. It's just 9 songs of just pure, brutal death doom metal coming out of Denmark, led by 4 women, of which I got a chat with Reiki, their vocalist, who mentioned to me that they've never sat down with the intention to create a band that was surrounded by death and doom styles, but it's actually a genre they listened to the least and ended up kind of making a band that sounds this way. And I came into the album actually not with a lot of expectations, if I'm honest, because I'm not really a big fan of a lot of doom metal, which usually has a lot of drawn out riffs and sections in service of creating a particular mood. Also, after reacting to the song Grains, I was left kind of with a sour taste in my mouth because I didn't listen to it in the context of a full album, and I wasn't at the time impressed with the vocal style that I've heard. But when I sat down to listen to the album, a lot of the things just absolutely changed, because in the context of a full album from beginning to end that I've listened to at this point, I think 5 or 6 times, you start understanding the vocal approach, those really deep, brutal vocals, as long as these kind of screeching vocals that Reiki does. And some of the songs and the way they actually progress, it doesn't sound like a stereotypical doom metal band, because it has a lot of, I would say, interesting changes and riffs within their songs. With the one that immediately captured my attention was Sand is King. I love that song to death, along with songs like Pipe Dreams, which is the second single they've released for their album. So as I started kind of really digesting the album from beginning to the end and the moods that it creates, not only did I start liking the vocals, I actually understood the purpose behind them. And yes, they were creating the mood that is kind of known for in a doom metal community, but really interjecting it with really nice death metal styles in their riffs, and just kind of, it just has this heaviness to it and punch that I think, in my personal opinion, a lot of doom metal bands just don't have. Now, when we talk about bands like Wolfheart of Dawn of Solace, they do their own thing by interjecting it with a lot of melody. There's not so much melodies here, but there is a lot of interesting riffing. And I'd say even the song Grains, in the context of a full album, I really enjoyed. It's a really good album, and I had no problem telling Reiki how I felt in the beginning, because how confident and how much my opinion changed by the end. And you could see in her face, she kind of smiles and sees the transition of a person who's really dove into the material and got to experience everything that it has to offer. So much so I jumped back into their first album, Puritan Masochism, and also listened to that, enjoyed it, but actually not as much as the second album. There's clear progressions in this album. They are more confident in their playing. There's more interesting transitions in there. The only thing I didn't really dive into, which a lot of people who follow this channel will know, I don't really dive into lyrics automatically. Not many bands really capture my attention in lyrics, and it's not because they're badly written, it's because to me, when I listen to metal, it's usually secondary. The vocal style kind of that they bring, to me, that is important, so it sounds nice in the context of the album and the band. I totally understand why this band has been getting a lot of attention and kind of notice with their just 2 albums. And I think it's almost not fair that in all the marketing, what is being advertised is a women-led death doom metal band. I don't think it's fair, because it takes away from some of their talent as musicians and being able to write really good songs. And the fact that they're women on top of that, for me, the only thing that brings is, it's nice to know that it's not a boys club anymore, and really the doors are opening in every style of genre of heavy metal for women to kind of start their own thing and not be kind of put down because of it, where in the olden days there was an elitist kind of mentality for people to say, oh, that's not what, I don't want to see a girl do that, or girls don't do that. And then bands like Holy Moses, Arch Enemy, even Warlock with their softer singles from back in the softer singing and girl school, they really brought it to the forefront. And now we have, it's thanks to that, now we have bands like KONVENT, which is just absolutely kick-ass. I like it from, like I said, loved it from beginning to the end. Anybody who's in a slower, because there's no fast songs on this album, and doom metal in general doesn't really have a lot of fast songs. If you would like that kind of very dirty, very gloomy, very heavy doom metal that has those death metal inspirations in the music, I think you're really going to enjoy this. It's a slow burn. It is not something that immediately captures your attention and you're going to be blown away right off the bat. It takes some time to digest and to really dive into what they're offering. But I think what they're offering in this more niche genre of heavy metal is not necessarily a breath of fresh air, but something that's been done before, but it's being done very well by these ladies. And I tip my hat to them because it's hard. It's a hard genre to get into. It was a really popular genre in the late 2000s where I felt like every other band was doing doom metal in some shape or form. And for a while, it looks like Finland really had a handle on that, with a lot of their bands kind of having those doom metal influences from Amorphous, Insomnium, Dawn of Solace, Wolfheart, and so on and so forth. I really think it's worth it to check this band out, even if it's out of your comfort zone, to see something that's different. And we don't get I don't see many albums in this style with this kind of a quality. And that's all I really have to say about this band. I'm really glad I was proven wrong by listening to the full album, and I'm glad that I stepped away from it completely enjoying the album. Is it gonna go in my top 10 albums of the year? I don't know. It looks like this year is gonna be really packed with some killer albums, and I think I'm gonna have a very hard time actually picking a top 10. But all I can say is I came away absolutely enjoying this album. I've become a fan of the band. I've added their music to my playlist on YouTube Music. I want them to be a permanent part of my collection, and that kind of speaks to the fact that they were able to capture me, a metal fan for many years, very, very quickly. And I would actually love to hear from you guys as well, how you've reacted to the album when you get to check it out this Friday, March 11th, and what you thought of it. If it's in your wheelhouse, how would you compare it to some of the other bands that you've enjoyed? And obviously, if you are perhaps taking a shot at it and you're not into this genre, I would love to hear from you as well, because on this channel, I try to create interesting conversations around heavy metal so we can talk about the things we like, dislike, and the difference of opinion, so we can settle down on an interesting conversation. Guys, make sure to enjoy the rest of your day. Stay safe out there most of all, and keep it metal.